Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I've got a quick little video I'd like to put together about the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. Now, I've been an early adopter of wearables since kind of sort of the very beginning. The original Moto 360. Anybody remember that flat tire at the bottom of the screen? Well, the moment I discovered that Samsung had released their very own watch with Tizen software, I grabbed one as soon as I saw in person, actually. It was the Gear S2, I believe. Now, their first major smartwatch, I think, was a rectangular, kind of similar to the Apple Watch, but not exactly, but it was longer. It was actually quite a large watch, anyway. I grew to appreciate Tizen, and I loved how, unlike Android Wear, as it was called way back in the day, it just seemed to work right. And I love that rotating bezel, man. That was a great addition to that watch. Okay, with Android Wear, I found my watches stuttering though, glitching. The battery life was absolutely abysmal. My Moto 360, oh my gosh, I lived maybe 10 minutes away from work. I would leave my home on a full charge. I'd get to work and it would be at 92%. I kid you not, 10 minutes later, without receiving or doing anything or touching it in between that little commute there. Sure, they had far more apps than Samsung's Tizens did, but this could very well be the dirty secret of wearable tech. A watch is so small that you don't really end up using 99% of those available apps for more than a little while because they're kind of sort of a novelty, and the fact that the screens are so small prohibits you from using them an awful lot. Now, some people are completely different and they do that, and that's, good for them, okay? It wasn't really a problem with my Tizen watches, though, because I just didn't really use an awful lot of apps to begin with. A few, but I didn't use very many. Now, it's true that I was not impressed with the very minor upgrade of the Galaxy Watch 3 over the original Galaxy Watch. Remember, they skipped 2 for some odd reason. Yes, it worked great. The battery life was certainly better than almost all other Wear OS watches, but it was significantly a downgrade over the original Galaxy Watch, which really had great battery life. And then the news came. Samsung was considering partnering with Google and making their newest watch Wear OS instead of Tizen. I was absolutely crestfallen at this. No, I was actually mad, if truth be told. Sure, the expanded app library, again, was a nice touch, if in fact you ended up using those apps on a regular basis. But having owned at least 8 different Wear OS watches over the years, there was only one which actually worked consistently, and that was the TicWatch Pro 3, which also had pretty darn good battery life. But the more I read about Samsung-Google partnership, the more optimistic I became. Perhaps this was going to be the compromise that would turn me into a fan. Sadly, it was not. The Galaxy Watch 4 was plagued with issues from the very beginning. At least mine was. Now, from overheating and shutting itself down to early essential resources to preserve the hardware and the stuttering and the glitches I had mentioned earlier. In all fairness, however, the overheating issue was resolved at a subsequent update date a few weeks later. When turning off the watch, though, I had to realize that when I turned it back on, it was basically useless for almost 10 full minutes. Sure, it was on, but doing anything with it was almost beyond its capabilities until after it seemed to get warmed up properly. And again, that was like 10 solid minutes, if not more. What was interesting is not only that I did discover mine was not an isolated incident revolving around the glitches and the stuttering and the hiccups that I would see it do, but many other Galaxy Watch 4 owners seemed to perplex because of their watches worked fantastic from day one. So if yours worked great and didn't have these issues, wonderful. That was not my experience, however. So I was often so frustrated with it that I stopped wearing it altogether and just went back to my Galaxy Watch 3, which never had any of those issues whatsoever. I had all but given up on the Galaxy Watch 5 at this point. However, one single thing changed my mind, and that was the battery life on the Pro 5. Clearly, the fact that Samsung abandoned the rotating bezel was not a popular choice. It's been ridiculed, it's been down-talked an awful lot. But I have to say, the digital bezel on this one works almost flawlessly, especially compared to the Galaxy Watch 4, which was intermittent at best, regardless of how many updates it received. Okay? I don't know. I just really seem to think that was pretty cool. Sometimes it was smooth, but I'd say 60% of the time it was hit or miss whether or not it would actually work properly. You'd skip past what you were looking for, sometimes two or three places past what you were looking for. I don't know. But this was something I expected to have a new and improved processor. I expected it to have a better battery life, which it does, but that's also because it's quite a bit thicker and it has a much, much larger battery. So, of course, that's going to be one of the byproducts. And I can attest that the battery life is far superior to the Galaxy Watch 4 in almost every possible way. A lot of people don't like the missing rotating bezel, but I actually like the looks of the gray one in particular. And okay, so I decided to go ahead and get it, and it has worked so much better than my Galaxy Watch 4, even though it has essentially the exact same chip and processor and everything working. The only thing that's different is it has an added temperature sensor, body temperature sensor, which isn't even operable from the moment you get it. It will supposedly work in an update somewhere down the line. Kind of like how the Galaxy Watch 4 had the ECG, but it didn't actually work until almost 10 months after I bought it. So anyway, yeah, I really sure wish that they had updated the processor and not just the battery and added a temperature sensor, which is great, but I honestly don't see the need for it. Improved sleeping capabilities, monitoring your health and your activities is supposed to be what this watch is designed to do. And unfortunately, the GPS was just miserable out the gate. I'd leave my phone GPS or my watch GPS on, and I would go ahead and go on a hike, and I'd come back and I'd shut it off, and I'd go check on my phone exactly the map that I had just hiked, and it didn't capture where I had started my hike until sometimes a quarter to a half a mile into my hike. Same with my bicycling. I know how to speech. I got an update here a couple of days ago, and it seemed to have helped, but I used to leave the GPS off until I needed it because, unfortunately, it just ran the battery down. Well, this one has much better battery life, and it does fare a lot better even with the GPS on. But I've just found that if I turn the GPS on and then try to work it, it never catches on until after I'm way into my walk or hike or bicycling route. The update has improved that, but it's still not as good as it should have been from the get-go. My Apple Watch, it actually pairs with the phone in order to use the GPS, so it works a lot quicker. But even if I leave my phone at home, it captures that GPS signal much faster and gives me a whole lot better accurate from the point where I start to the point where I end. And other than a hiccup or two where it shows that I walk inside a building instead of in front of it, but I think all GPS watches are similar in that fashion. Again, the watch looks great. It really does. I think it handles fairly well overall. I was really astonished and thrilled with how much better I've had this working. Again, after about 10 minutes after you turn it on, then you can actually start using it to some degree. But it hasn't had the hiccups and the stuttering and the glitches that I saw in my Galaxy Watch 4 from day one. Again, since it has like 99% of the same internals as the Galaxy Watch 4, this is kind of sort of amazing and surprising to me. I have the LTE model here, and again, I love the screen. I love the fact that the digital bezel works really, really well on it. It just actually does its job. The battery life is nothing short of transformative for those of us who are used to the poor battery life of the Apple Watch and the previous Android Wear watches. Some of them are just, ugh. But the Galaxy Watch 4 battery, terrible, terrible, terrible. The Watch 5, actually pretty good, better than my Apple Watch, which was better than my Galaxy Watch 4 by a long shot. Now, I still like Samsung's take on Wear OS 3.0. It reminds me of Tizen, which it was supposed to from the get-go, of course. But I think that's a good thing because I love Tizen from the beginning to begin with. Overall, I've been supremely surprised and happy with my Pro 5 and its performance thus far. I'm still wondering about the performance of the upcoming Pixel Watch from Google. That's yet to be seen, but rumors of it being around for what seems like an eternity, and now we finally got a confirmation that it actually is coming out, although it still hasn't come out yet. The renders look certainly good, but I worry about its how tough it is because how exposed that dial looks and everything. Kudos to Samsung. I genuinely like the 5 Pro, which I honestly believe is, mostly because of the inconsistency of the Watch 4. Now, as much, again, as I love the silicone strap, and this is an interesting strap because it's almost like a metal one in that it clasps here with a magnet. But if you want to charge your device on your phone, like the Galaxy smartwatches and smartphones have the reverse wireless charging, you have to put your phone through here and then it kind of sits awkwardly. It's not as easy as if you just take the charger and put it on the back and there you go. And it does charge faster too, by the way, which I think is another wonderful opportunity to enjoy the battery life again. I noticed something that really irks me, and again, it's the outdoor activity of the GPS. I noticed it from day one, and even with the update, it's still not as good as my Apple Watch. And I have been an Android person my entire adult life since Samsung and Android first became available. The Apple Watches and Apple phones just never appealed to me. Why do I have one? Because of the Galaxy Watch 4. I was so disappointed with how it worked and how it just frustrated me. And it seemed like every person who had an Apple Watch, it worked out of the box. It worked right every time. You turn it off, you turn it back on. The moment it comes on, it works right. And that's what drove me to get one in the first place. And it didn't hurt that I got one through my work for free. That certainly helped a lot. But boy, do I love this watch. Now, the GPS though, I keep coming back to this. Why would you get something like this unless you needed it for GPS and wanted to use and exploit that feature? Well, the GPS is just a problem. And unless they can fix this, they can't sit there and sell me on the fact that this watch is designed for outdoor enthusiasts when it can't even catch your GPS signal any sooner than sometimes 5 minutes after you start your hike or your activity. That's a problem. And my review on Amazon, I went back and I took a star away. I gave it only 3 stars as a result of this. But, if they improve on the performance, which I think they need to concentrate on more than anything else, and optimizing all of the Wear OS with their particular software, then we're going to see some dramatic improvements. I hope to do another review of the Apple Watch 7. And I will soon be doing an Apple Watch Ultra. I'm getting one of those free from work. Yeah, it pays to be me, doesn't it? So, hey, thank you for taking time to watch the video. I hope it was informative for you. I'll be making more of these coming up real soon. And I catch you on the next one. And may all your adventures be safe.